Thank you. Thanks, Patrick, for making that time. I want to kind of continue where Patrick left off. I'm so glad that we get to do church together. We get to be together at times like this. Even the last 24 hours, today's a day to be sad together. We talked about that at our church's morning together, mentoring. It's a day to feel, not to be numb, to be together, not to be alone. And these days aren't unique because of their violence, which is an interesting thing to say, but it's not unique because of its violence. There's actually more mass shootings in the calendar year 2019 than days. So it's not because there's violence that it's unique, but rather it's because of the kind of violence this is, the number of people who lost their life in El Paso specifically, the hate that seems to be attached to these kinds of killings, and also the fact that it's in the news, it's back-to-back shootings. So we have to see it. We are confronted by it. We turn on our TV, we look at our phones, we just see it and we know it. And in a country that's increasingly divided and divisive, this is actually an experience of commonality. It's not an experience of unity, right? But of commonality, meaning that we all in common have this as part of our story. That we're like, oh, we saw this. We experienced this. We knew where we were when we thought about the news. And these wounds, they bind us, they haunt us, they call out for something, a different way forward, a change. I don't think we can experience something like this and just think we can stay the same. It reminds me of a verse that was brought up in our season of prayer and fasting for the vineyard. And it's actually a verse from the weeping prophet Jeremiah. The verse goes like this. It says, "Thus says the Lord." Jeremiah chapter 6, verse 16. "Thus says the Lord, stand at the crossroads and look, and ask for the ancient paths, where the good way lies, and walk in it. Find rest for your souls. But they said, we will not walk in it." On days like today, my soul doesn't particularly feel rested. But I know that I'm at a crossroads, and I think that we're at a crossroads too. Essentially, we've arrived at a broken American liturgy, where in the past few years, people have heard this phrase, thoughts and prayers, and start to say, you know what? I'm not so comfortable with that anymore. Of just saying that, and that being our response to everything. But then if you haven't noticed, something else has happened where now kind of like right after people say it, there's a kind of like a snarkier response of like, oh, you're just saying thoughts and prayers. Like, that doesn't work. As if saying that like is going to add anything different to the rhetoric. It's almost like its own threat response. And unfortunately, we know in our broken political climate that it doesn't seem like people are going to be reaching across the aisle for solutions. We have a broken American liturgy here. We're at a crossroads time. I can't help but believe that we're here. But this scripture would challenge us to ask, what's the good way? What's the ancient path? And I think one way and path is near the end of the passage. It's finding rest for our souls. And on a day like today, that can almost seem maybe inappropriate. Like, we need to act. We need to urgently do something. We need to change something. Like, why would we talk about rest? But I have something to share with you all today. Especially someone who has a background who's really passionate about activism, caring about it, and for a large part of college and after really doing things involved in that world. Rest can be when a movement rises and falls on. A lot of people have said that they care about something before. They're going to work hard on something before, and pretty quickly that becomes burnout. It becomes just a passion from the past. It becomes an excuse to treat people poorly, to not see your family, to work and work and work and work, even when you think it's righteous, but to keep working. But what does it mean to actually choose rest? I've seen different movements rise and fall because leaders said, you know what, I'm still going to take a Sabbath. I'm still going to rest. I'm still going to pursue community with one another and not just be defined by my work. Not just be defined by my cause, not just be defined by what I put into something. I've seen certain movements rise and fall, how they believe about rest. What if there are transformative practices for us that help us live lives of rest? Rest that ultimately fuels works of justice, works of mercy, time of lament, a time of worship, compassion, even rejoicing. And one famous passage of scripture from another prophet, this time the prophet Isaiah, talks about this kind of fasting, this kind of religious practice that ties religion to justice. You were here with us a few years ago. You probably were part of a series called This is True Religion, where we looked at what does it mean to tie these things together. And actually this passage ties the Sabbath to justice making. The first part of the scripture is this. This is the words of God spoken through the prophet Isaiah about this practice of fasting. So you guys do this religious thing, but do you do it this other way? Is not this the kind of fasting I have chosen, to loose the chains of injustice and untie the cords of the yoke, to set the oppressed free and break every yoke? Is it not to share your food with the hungry and to provide the poor wanderer with shelter, when you see the naked to clothe them, and not to turn away from your own flesh and blood? And a few verses later, it says this: if you keep your feet from breaking the Sabbath and from doing as you please on my holy day, if you call the Sabbath a delight and the Lord's holy day honorable, and if you honor it by not going your own way and not doing as you please or speaking idle words, then you will find your joy in the Lord. And I will cause you to ride in triumph on the heights of the land and to feast on the inheritance of your father Jacob. For the mouth of the Lord has spoken. And the you in this passage, the you that shared is not just you personally, but you corporately, you the people of God. Have the people of God found this kind of joy in the Lord that comes from honoring the Sabbath, honoring this tradition of rest. We need rest for our souls as people, as a city, as a country, as a world. Rest that doesn't lead to inaction, but rest that actually is rooted in someone who is our source, someone who provides energy for us, provides sustenance for us, provides life to us. We don't just need a Sabbath from work. We need a Sabbath to get to work. The good kinds of work that God has called us to. The good kinds of work that actually can be in union with the creator of the universe, the one who worked 6 days and took the seventh to rest. We need that kind of Sabbath making, that kind of Sabbath keeping, that kind of way of honoring rest in order for our work to be something that can be sacred. Let's pray together. Pray that that creator of our source would be here today. Holy Spirit, I pray that you would be here. You would come and you would guide us. You would give us everything we need for rest, everything we need to be with you truly. God, be our sustainer, be our source, be all that we need. In Jesus' name, amen. The Sabbath has been an ancient gift for the people of God. After God freed his people from slavery, God put down the Sabbath as one of the 10 commandments for them to follow. Imagine this, being enslaved just a month before. Your parents were enslaved, your grandparents were enslaved. That's what you knew about your legacy and about your path. And all of a sudden, you're freed by a living God who saves you, who rescues you, who takes you out into the desert, takes you out away from your slavery, and then says, I have these commandments that are life to you. And one of them is that you get to rest. You don't have to work all the time. But your life won't be defined by what you do, but there's a day for you that's a gift. That's rest. How loving is that? How considerate is that to say, I, your God, will not make you a slave that has to work 7 days out of the week. But I'll call this day blessed, not just for you, but for your boss. Not just for you, but for your kid or for your parent. It's a communal thing that everyone is asked, invited, commanded to rest. We see this in the book of Exodus. Remember the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord your God. On it you shall not do any work, neither you nor your son or daughter, nor your male or female servant, nor your animals, nor any foreigner residing in your towns. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea and all that is in them. And he rested on the seventh day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy. The Sabbath became a gift. People that were freed from enslavement, God decides to give them a gift to war against the disorder of how work could become known to them by taskmasters, by slave masters. A Sabbath, a day to truly rest. Rest to what end? How? I want to dig into that together and share just two things from this part of the talk, and we'll continue a little bit later. But the first one is rest to remember. If you've already seen how I've told the story of the Sabbath has a story to it, and you hear that there's people that were enslaved that received it as a gift. We just kind of take out this passage and say, oh yeah, it's one of the commandments. We lose the richness of the story. What did it mean to be a person who was enslaved? And then your God, the living God that rescued you, said, and now here's the day of rest, a gift for you. That's an important story to remember. It's an important story for us to remember. But even thinking about the Sabbath as a day of the week that we can keep sacred and keep holy, there's a question of what are we called to remember? What are we supposed to think about the other 6 days? What was good? What was hard? What do we need to celebrate? What do we need to mourn? I'm convinced that life moves very, very fast. I know that for me, and I'm guessing that for you. The life moves very fast. It's maybe hard for you sometimes to process certain things in your life. Sometimes when there's an issue of conflict in our life, I think we get away with maybe being considered nice by not bringing up that conflict. But oftentimes I think it's that we just don't have time. We're like, I don't want to bring this up with this other person. I don't want to hear what they said. I don't have to deal with my own awkwardness or insecurities. I'd rather just let bygones be bygones. We kind of go back to the moral high ground. But really, it's just we just don't have time. We're living at a pace that's too fast to even do peacemaking. Our busyness leads us to not even bring it before God. And we end up having a bitter heart. You don't want to have it, but that's just what happens when you don't do business with God, when you don't do business with others. Maybe it's not something negative like someone else hurting us, but maybe it's experiencing joy. And all of a sudden, in our experience of joy, remember, we got something to do. Our to-do list kind of comes up. See someone that happens to them, right? You have this experience of joy, but then someone immediately snatches it up. Because you're like, oh man, I have other things in my life that aren't that thing that was joyful. Like, that's awful. And there's no thought that you can maybe push pause on that for a second. To take a breath, to thank God, to thank someone, to hold that in, to cherish, to give into contentment. Instead, our to-do list robs us from that. Or maybe it's like today or last night when there's a national or global tragedy. And we look at a headline, we feel bad, we are stunned for a moment, and then we realize we don't know what to do with what we saw. Like, we don't know where it would go. We don't see it fit into our schedule. And so we have to say, well, that's too bad. And we move on. We don't think about the slow work of mourning, the slow work of lament. We've got bills to pay, assignments to do, kids to feed, all fair things. But we lose that experience of mourning, that experience of potential solidarity, of connecting with those who are suffering, because we're busy. What if we had a day where we remembered, almost like a doctor examining a body, looking, what are the bruises that have come on this body? What are the cuts that might have appeared? And we take time to heal them. We use ointment to heal, to rub in those wounds and say, I want healing. What about if we look at our body and see the places that have been strengthened, that have been kind of more sturdy lately? We realize that we have something that's fortified that we didn't know before. What about if it's examining the places that have been healed and we thank God for them? We rejoice over them. What if we had a day where we remembered like that, pouring over the week, thinking about what is worth mourning, what's worth celebrating in that week? The Sabbath can be that for us. A dedicated day to remember, to celebrate, to grieve. Even during the week, to flag things and say, I need to bring this to my Sabbath. I need to bring this to this 24-hour period. That interaction with that friend, that got me heated. But I need to bring this to the Sabbath. That experience of joy that I've got to go to the meeting, I can't stop the time, but I need to think about that again. To cherish it again, to rejoice over it. Do we have time like that? What if we moved slow enough that our Sabbath became a day to remember? to be set apart people in that way. Not just people that do as the world does, that work as the world does, but actually one where we could shed the habits and practices of death. People that could say we were freed from enslavement, so maybe this day we think, is there a way that I've become enslaved to something again? What if the Sabbath is a day of checking in like that, checking in with God, with ourselves and others? This is the work of Sabbath remembrance. Do we have anything like this already? Or would this be a gift for us? Secondly, we can actually rest. We can rest to be like God, not just to live as gods. God, in all of God's majesty, worked to create the world. That's what we see in the Genesis narrative. And on that seventh day, he rested. If God in God's splendor can rest like that, what keeps us from doing the same? What makes us addicted to that seventh day of work? Not just literally, but even metaphorically, that constant attitude that we have to keep getting ahead. Is it the work of ambition? That we want to be the best? That we're aiming to be better than others? We know I can't rest there. I've got to keep getting ahead. Maybe it's actually our wallets. We're like, Josh, I actually need to work. I have bills to pay. Working 7 days makes more money than 6. This is simple math. Back off. I get that. But we're also called to do things that cost us. We're also called to live in creative ways where we can ask for what we need from God and from others. It's not comfortable, but it's an option. Specifically, there's a command to do something like rest. Maybe it's that we've gotten behind. We've become slow in some way. We just got to catch up. It's going to be a few Sabbaths. It's going to be a few, we just got to keep working. Then we realize it's kind of more off our attitude or practice than not. Maybe it's because we're looking at our neighbors and our coworkers and we see they're not doing the same thing. And of course I've got to work like them. I can't work like God in this way. If we feel like we have to work endlessly, not only will we be too tired to do meaningful work eventually, we're implicitly saying that we're gods. We're missing a blessing here. And oftentimes I think as fans of people, we can often be fans of this kind of work and like kind of reward it in other people. We're gonna have to do some confession moments here. Right? Like, so if you've ever been a fan of a musical artist, they've dropped an album and you're so excited, like, this is great, like 6 tracks, 10 tracks, 20 tracks, and you get through it, and all of a sudden you were like, wait, I need new music. Like, I need new music right now, like from this artist. Like, it was so good, I need more. Or maybe like your favorite Netflix shows drop, like you just binge it all, right? I need something new like right now. And you demand your creators to work more. Right? This is kind of like a new Twitter thing where people like get the album out, they just immediately like, more. I need more. Like, it doesn't matter if you like Last Jedi. I need the trailer now for the new one. You fix, like, what was the line of 23 films in MCU, like, for Endgame? Like, what's coming next now? Like, you need to know. And we kind of demand a little bit more. Maybe it's sports for you, right? You get the off season, you're kind of following it, and then you get the regular season, you're kind of satisfied with the wins, but then there's the playoffs, you need more, and there's a championship, and you need more, and then finally they win the championship, you're like, yes, it's amazing. But wait, are they going to keep that player? Are they going to trade that player? Like, you're already racking up the next championship in your mind. You're going to demand this from other people. You know, short story for me, I'm about as big of a Serena Williams fan like, as you can come by. I just love that. It's just amazing. Like, since I was 13, like, got someone, one clap, thank you. She's the greatest sports player of all time, possibly. But anyway, so when I was 13 years old, right, she won her first Grand Slam. 20 years later, she has 23. It's like ridiculous, right? But she's still playing. As a lot of you probably know, like I think 2 years ago, while she was pregnant, she won her last Grand Slam. She's won the Australian Open. Then she had a baby. Beautiful thing. But then I was like, wait, is she going to come back though? Like, is this it? Like, is she retiring? I was like, I want more championships. Like, I want more excellence. Like, I want more dominance. She's like, okay, I'm coming back. Yes! She comes back after giving birth. 10 months later. She does 1 Grand Slam. She gets injured. She withdraws. The second Grand Slam she's in. First round, win. Second round, win. Third round, win. Fourth round, win. Quarterfinals, win. Semifinals, win. Finals! I'm like, we've got to throw a party. So I throw a party, which usually like, I wouldn't do because I'm like, I need the victory before I throw the party, but I got a little confident. I was really excited. So I threw the party before I even know what happened. You guys were there. You just saw my face afterwards. It was hard. It was a hard day. She gets to the final 10 months after having a baby. At this point, I think Zoe had already been born. I'd seen Tina give birth. Like, this is hard work. 10 months later. She's at like the most elite like place in her sport, like ready to vie for a championship. And she loses. And I'm crushed. Like, she's like, this was like the story of a moment, this is horrible. I'm not mad at Serena. Like, if you're a fan, you can't be mad at Serena. It's like the rules. But I'm upset. And I'm like, wait, was there time to like rest? Was there time to say like, maybe like a final, being number 2 out of 128 in the global sport, maybe that's like good. But I couldn't, and some people are like, I couldn't like receive that. I was like, that's not good, that's not the best. And I had to realize something. I'm like, through this player, I'm living out some of my own work fantasies. Some of my own like black excellence fantasies. Some of my own, you've got to be the top. And I'm realizing like, through like this fandom that I have, like there's some idolatry in the background. I know for sports fans, it's like a hard word. You guys don't like when I mention sports and idolatry. Like, you know, I'm not going to go too much there. You might want to pray about it. Patrick asked us to pray about some things, and we need to pray about that later. But like for me, I realized, I'm like, this woman has represented like black excellence to me for 20 years. That hadn't mattered to me as a 13-year-old in Iowa, like a black kid in a sea of white faces. Like her victories mattered in like a deeper way than I realized. And then that loss, the final stage, I'm like, wait, this bunch is getting punished for resting. I'm not saying she thought that, but I like held on by there. And I realized, ooh, that's twisted. Ooh, that's sick. If we're commanded to rest, and if it's a gift, we gotta rest. No matter what the consequence, no matter what the cost, no matter any perceived way we feel like we're gonna get behind. For some of us, that's real. My parents said to me growing up, you gotta work twice as hard for half as much. So taking a Sabbath doesn't fit into that logic. My parents are believers in Jesus, they love God. And they were like, well, we want you to do well. These are competing narratives. They don't work together. But doing a Sabbath can dislodge me from those lies. Can dislodge me from that idolatry. Maybe you have some things in your own life you need to be dislodged from. Ways that you were lied to about work or your value. And doing a Sabbath actually is going to be a way to tell the truth to yourself. My rest with God matters more than anything else. I've got to take this commandment of God seriously. Everyone's journey to a Sabbath will be different. You know, the Sabbath, we see it as this 24-hour period of rest, but you can get there different ways, you can do different things. I often tell people 3 P's, pause, pray, and play. Those are good ways to make up a Sabbath, but you can do that in your own way. What really is the invitation there is that it's a gift for you. And the question is, what are you thinking and realizing and understanding about the gift? Do you see it as one? Do you want to receive it? Are you afraid of it? Do you feel like it's disconnected from justice work? It's disconnected from your calling? It's disconnected from your passions or community? Because God wants to speak into that. Jesus did the work of Sabbath differently than others. He did it in a way that often got him in trouble, in a way that was costly for him. But he wanted to define for himself what a Sabbath was, because he's God, he has those privileges. This is a passage that talks about the way that Jesus deals with Sabbath. It's a little weird, has some Old Testament references, but I'll walk us through. One Sabbath, Jesus was going through the grain fields, and his disciples walked along, and they began to pick some heads of grain. The Pharisees said to him, "Look, why are you doing what is unlawful on the Sabbath?" He answered, Have you never read what David did? When he and his companions were hungry and in need? In the days of Abiathar, the high priest, he entered the house of God and ate the consecrated bread, which is lawful only for priests to eat. And he also gave some of his companions. So Jesus is basically saying, hey, you guys have this old story too, right? It's not just me that has that story. And in this old story with this guy that you love, David, he's walking through the temple and he's hungry. And he's finding bread that's blessed. He's finding something that's consecrated. And he's not a priest, but he's doing the work of a priest. And he can consume it. He can take it in. And Jesus is saying, you celebrate that story. Why wouldn't you just celebrate a story of me with my disciples? Just picking grain, having this moment of joy. What's different about that? And then Jesus says something crucial to them. He says, the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. So the Son of Man is Lord even of the Sabbath. So even though God is giving us a gift, the gift is made for us. The gift is for us truly. It's not that because it was given to us that somehow we have to work for it or master it or do it the right way. The Sabbath is costly. But it's costly because of that last line, that we get to invite Jesus to make himself the Lord of the Sabbath, to make him the Lord of our rest, to make him the Lord even in ways where we know that rest might be possible. That rest might have to be creative for me to actually step into it. That rest might have to be something different than me just being entertained. Jesus, are you willing to be Lord of my Sabbath? I'm going to invite you to that work. And Jesus led Sabbath to be a little more than just chilling. But it's also something we can work with Jesus on. It's not just this legalist thing that we feel like he'll give us and we have to do it perfectly. There's an opportunity to submit, to surrender. Like with me, to let go of some idols and to say, rest is a gift, it's for me. That's something that I've been learning about these days. Trying to really honor the fact that Jesus is the Lord even of the Sabbath. And in my own life, ask God, what does that mean for me? You know, I credit the Elanders, Bill and Lainey Elander, who are here, with stopping me about 7 years ago, 8 years ago. Bill just gave this amazing talk on CB where he prayed this thing over me. Lord, I pray that you would refresh Josh's soul. And sometimes you don't know you're struggling with something until someone prays for you, and then you realize you've been struggling for a while. And that's what it was for me. I was like, I've been so passionate about a certain kind of work. I've been so enlivened by ministry. And I thought that was really giving me life. And I realized probably 2-3 years later, actually, you can't keep getting life from something that is something that's other than God. Even if you enjoyed it for a moment, like if you keep going back to that thing to get life, Jesus is going to kind of slip away. Jesus does that sometimes. Like, you like that? Right, I'm just going to slip away. Because that's not fully me. And you need to know that. And if we're tracking Jesus, if we're following Jesus, we're going to get there. But if we're not, we're going to be stuck on that thing, thinking it's going to give us life. And it doesn't. That's why that rest to remember is crucial. Because we would remember what's happened that week. And so I realized when I've been giving into a certain kind of work, it's actually just become busyness. Even if it's had results. Even if I've seen fruit or what people might call success. And that challenge of refreshing my soul, I realized I hadn't done that for a while. And I started to go into the work of Sabbath. And realized more and more that through the Sabbath, I knew that my work didn't come from my work. But rather, in rest, I could connect more deeply with God. In rest, I actually didn't live life as someone that was enslaved. Not physically, but enslaved to certain kinds of notions about my value or work or expectations. I could live freely through my Sabbath. And actually, I realized even doing just 1 day a week of Sabbath, that's actually not enough. That as people that want to be people of Sabbath, it's more than just a day of the week, but an attitude and even practices throughout the year. Some people say it's like 1 day or a moment a day, 1 day a week, maybe a weekend, a quarter, and maybe every year a more substantial time of rest. And so actually this year for me, my more substantial time of rest comes right here. It won't be a full month this year, but I talked to the board and the elders last year and said, I think I want to experiment with this. To really try to give into a kind of rest that will allow me to do this work, this ministry work, for my whole life. That's what I feel like my call might be at this time. So I'm like, to do that well, to not burn out, to serve with love, to have the source be God. It's like, I think I want to actually take this time. It's around a month every year just to reconnect to God. This kind of deeper Sabbath. And the board and the elder said, yes, we want to give you that space to be healthy. We want to give you that space to have longevity. It's not a crisis. It's actually anticipating that without one of these, that's when crisis comes. I'm so grateful for the generosity in that. But I also knew that I had to make time and space for that in my own life, which I'm still kind of honestly struggling to do. I gotta get away. I gotta do this. Pray for me, please. But that's so important to me, to think about Sabbath as a lifestyle, not just today. So what might that mean for you? The real question today is, are you ready to make Jesus the Lord of this gift that he wants to give you? And I encourage you to ask that question. Am I ready to receive a gift that I know is a gift, but you still get to be Lord of that gift? Isn't that kind of challenging? It's like someone giving you like a video game for Christmas and be like, but I get to decide a little bit how you play it. I just want to play this video game, right? Like there's some ways that Jesus has a way into influencing the gift, but it's still a gift. So are you ready to make Jesus the Lord of your Sabbath, this gift that God has given you? Here's a few questions for us as we wrap up. The worship team can come to the front. The first is, what would it take for you to take a 24-hour period of rest this coming week? I'm just starting big, starting bold. Some people are looking at this just laughing. It's okay, you can laugh. The Bible's full of stories of people that laugh, and then later on, maybe they laugh for different reasons. Where can you start this week? Maybe it's not 24 hours for you, maybe it's not this week, but when you look at your calendar, you can actually get out your phone if you want, if you have an actual diary or calendar, you can get it out. Where can you actually experiment with a certain kind of 24-hour period of rest? Where it's fully 24, whether it's a half day, just think about it from today to next week. Where could you start with that? Maybe some of you guys already have this practice. That's great. Other listeners to think creatively about this. What would that look like for you? Would it not be actually working? Maybe doing chores, maybe your actual work, maybe it's email for you. What would you have to divest from to truly have rest? Think about that. Ask God about that, even during worship. The second thing, on your Sabbath, reflect on the work you've done the past week. Breathe, celebrate, and bring it all to God. So you use that Sabbath as a place to remember, what did I actually get into this past week? Did I do meaningful work? I've experienced people going through the Sabbath, and every week they're like, man, my job actually doesn't give me life. Like I just realized this community, I'm struggling with it. It's been a place of truth-telling, where they've had a day to reflect on something that maybe they would put up with. They just had to go through it, because they've had a period of rest and saying, actually, that person, we need to change our relationship. That job, oh, that's the part that gives me life, but not that. They've been able to become people of reflection, guided by the Spirit, guided by Jesus. People that can grieve and celebrate the things you might be feeling now. You need to actually bring that to a more extended time of being with God. And lastly, ask Jesus to bless your Sabbath and leave space for God to speak into it. God already calls the Sabbath blessed. We get to ask Him, how would you bless this day? Would you bless the Sabbath? Ask Him to speak into it. And also, I just challenge you this week to ask God, how can my Sabbath be a place of justice? In our community before, we thought about maybe we don't purchase things on our Sabbath. We don't do things that make others work, and so we plan our day around. Maybe it's actually doing some kind of service on our Sabbath. We feel like it would be life-giving. It would actually be justice maker. Maybe we just simply grieve. And we think, God, what do we care about? What does break our heart? What might you be calling me to do that is work, kingdom work unto you? So using it as a day of discernment. How could justice be part of your Sabbath? I'm pretty convinced that this kind of rest and the kind of robust justice making are actually connected. I think they are, otherwise we just numb ourselves, we walk past them. This kind of work can free others, can give others life. When we look at Jesus and the work that He's called to, the work that He did, the work that we see on the cross, we see how this work gave life to us and allowed us to enter different kinds of rest. Sometimes Scripture calls it Sabbath rest. Jesus gave us Sabbath rest for the people of God through the work that He did. So when we take communion, we're actually acknowledging that Jesus' body, broken for us, is a gift. When we dip it into the juice, we say that Jesus' blood shed for us is a gift, and we take it in, realize that it's all gift. We get to experience life that costs Jesus something, and life that if we're truly going to live it well, it costs us something to eat. I want to invite the communion servers to come up. Today we're going to have a chance just to be before God through musical worship, through communion. Ryan Mays will lead us in the prayer call later. We have a chance to acknowledge before God there are people who need rest and who need to receive the gift of rest. Today, dialogue with God about that. Talk to God about that. Believe that God's living voice is for you, that He wants to speak to you. And trust Him. He's going to be good to you in all of that. Jesus, I pray that your Spirit would be here. You would call us to yourself. That you would give us the gift of the Sabbath, the gift of rest. And you would do that to our work and to our life. To you, to your people. Speak to us about our fears and our anxieties. We will take you as a gift that is you. We pray all this in Jesus' name.